McManus, business strategist and leadership coach. I am so thrilled to be with you here tonight with David Fryman from Fryman PC, a lawyer for entrepreneurs, and we're going to be tapping into his brain this evening. And of course, Tyler Cook of Hypermedia, who is a brilliant marketing mind, and we're going to be tapping into him as well. This is our new show where we pull a business idea out of a jar. Literally, we don't know what we're going to get, and we are literally just going to spitball ideas. And we may know stuff about the industry, we may know nothing about the industry, but we're going to use our brains to kind of come up with a plan. Guys, welcome. Thanks for joining me.
I'm so excited. This is going to be hopefully fun.
No, it's going to be a ton of fun. This is awesome.
Here, blow on the jar. So, yeah, let's get a good one this first one, okay? Ready? Okay, I'm not looking. I should have picked a bigger jar with a bigger top because I can't fit my finger in. Oh, okay. So we picked a Tutors, a tutoring company.
Tutors, okay.
Okay, so the business we are building today is tutoring. So my mind goes to, my first stop is always what's the niche? Like, what are you tutoring on? And also, what's the age range you're going to? Because I think that implies like different levels of liability and who you can market to and all that stuff. Where do your brains go?
Yeah, I was thinking also like, is this like one-on-one tutoring? Is this more of like, group tutoring? You're getting 5, 6, 7 kids in there, that type of thing. That's kind of where my mind went first is like what type of tutoring there,
Right.
I was thinking professional test prep, which I think is, I don't know a lot about the industry, but my sense is that like I paid for that kind of tutoring. And a lot of people I know went to even just like college, grad school. I feel like that's a pretty robust field, and it's like, it's not going anywhere.
Right. Yeah. Hi, Tanya. Welcome. Well, I think, okay, so we have to pick a niche first and foremost. Right. I kind of like that high ticket, the college prep. Yeah. Also, I imagine for very highly certified industries like law, like medicine, there are tutors who help you get through the bar or get through your licensing, right?
Yeah. They're bar tutors, like LSAT tutors. I know just, in the legal field. Yeah. I paid a ton of money on bar prep. It is a very big industry.
Can't you just hire somebody to take that test for you?
So that's another business idea. Less legal, but it is certainly a thing I guess you can get money for, but that's probably a bad idea.
That's one of my favorite parts of that movie, Catch Me If You Can.
That was a great movie.
I know, it's such a good movie, but the character who is played by Leonardo DiCaprio, like he actually just passed the bar. And I think that's actually part of the true story.
Yeah.
That's based on. He like studied for 3 weeks and then passed the bar miraculously. David, how does that make you feel?
That I feel personally attacked. Why don't you get him on here instead of me? He might have some ideas too.
Probably.
Well, should we ask anybody in the audience?
Like, if anyone in the audience, if you have any experience with
anyone start a tutoring business.
Yeah.
Anyone who's starting a tutoring business, or cast your vote. Do you want to talk about high-level tutoring? I mean, one thing that is top of mind for me is, so my oldest is 5 and he starts kindergarten on Monday, and so just Brittany, my wife, and I, we've been having loads of conversations about schooling, and like in Arizona where we live, like schooling is it's kind of like you can go anywhere, which is kind of fun. And there's private schools, charter schools, public schools. So it's been like actually a ton of work to figure out where we want to send Harvey. And I'm like, man, this would have been nice to just hire somebody kind of like in our neighborhood, get like 5 other kids in there and like be done with it, right? So let us know.
Yeah. So Tanya's kids were tutored math and SAT prep. I say let's cover the gambit. Let's cover tutoring that's for kids, where you have the decision maker that's the parents, So you have to market to the parents to help them with their kids. And then let's also talk about professional tutoring. Let's just split this into two different kinds, because I find this fascinating. I love businesses where you have to figure out how to appeal to the person who doesn't actually need the thing. They actually are making decisions for the other person. Right. So do we want to start there and then go into Sarah? That is so possible. I'm not sure what you're talking about, but maybe it's Tyler's.
It's the universal standard. It's all possible.
Yeah, everything's possible. You have to cut impossible out of your dictionary. Not a word that we want to use. Can we start there?
Sure.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, cool. So, I mean, you guys have kids.
Yeah. So my oldest is 7. We're not as ambitious as the Cook family, so I'm not getting tutors for my 7-year-old quite yet. We're gonna wait till 2nd grade. That's the Fryman family.
I don't know if you should be saying ambitious. It's you know, it runs in the family, right? Like, let's just put it that way. I left my keys in the ignition. Okay, so I had an appointment. I was trying to find my keys. Couldn't find my keys anywhere. And my wife's like, you took the SUV like a couple days ago. Did you leave it in the car? Did you leave the keys in the car? And I was like, hon, I'm dumb, but I'm not that dumb. Apparently, I am that dumb. So
yeah,
that's why we're getting started now.
So look, if you had a tutor, that'll be the first line of marketing. It was like just a picture of Tyler leaving his keys in the car, and then it just breaks to, if you had a tutor in 7th grade math, this wouldn't be you.
Yes.
Somebody else driving. How's my marketing skills?
That's fabulous. Well, can I share, when I was a kid, I was a slow reader. It took me like a long time to learn how to read. And I think I had ADD, so I couldn't sit still, and I didn't like how they were teaching me. And once I learned how to read, that's how I learn, is reading stuff. But my mom got 2 tutors for me, and I hated one of them. She's a really nice woman, but I just hated going to her. My mom once offered me the same amount of money per hour that she was paying this one tutor if I just wouldn't throw a temper tantrum before going. She offered me $30 an hour in 3rd grade.
Did that work?
I turned it down. I just didn't want to go.
Speaking of niche, tutor for ADHD kids.
Yeah, I think that's a really good one, because ADHD runs in families.
Yeah.
Parents should know that.
Right.
And there's already built-in community there, right? Like there's ADHD forums, there are ADHD playgroups, there's all of that. So there's kind of moms and dads of ADHD kids typically want to hang around with other moms and dads that also have those same struggles.
Right.
And we tend to buy impulsively, so it's easy.
Never.
Well, the other cool thing about kids with ADHD and any neurodiversity is they get really, really interested on one topic, right? So I was really interested in Balto, the sled dog, for a really long time. And so the tutor that I really enjoyed just found me a shit ton of books on Balto. This husky that ran, whatever, the Iditarod.
Yeah. Okay.
So part of this niche would be, a tutor who focuses on ADHD kids, but their selling point is that they discover what that kid is hyper interested in, what they're hyper focused on, and give them things that relate to that.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they're not going to be interested. They're not going to keep their attention.
All right. So if we were to put this at least the first couple of steps in a business plan, right? It would be, one, you got to find your niche, right? Are you going to be focused on kids? If so, what age group? How many? Type of kids, right? Like ADHD. You could also specialize in a couple of other areas too, right? It doesn't have to be ADHD.
Dyslexia. Yep.
So figure out your niche is step 1. And then number 2, take it a step further, understanding that you're marketing to parents. Are there any groups, like communities that you can kind of insert yourself into, just like we were talking about with ADHD. Other parents tend to know other parents that have ADHD kids, so it's a lot easier to market. You find one family that kind of becomes your advocate, right? They help you find the other 5 kids or 6 kids that fill your classroom, right?
Yeah. So I mean, a great resource would probably be like the guidance counselors in the schools, because they're always looking for resources, because schools really don't have the resources to give to parents. They're always looking for people to introduce.
Right.
Maybe doing a donation at like PTA fundraisers, like a learning experience or whatever. Like maybe because here's another thing about kids with ADHD is we like to move while we're learning.
Yeah.
Right. One of the reasons I thrived when I went to Waldorf as a child is that they had us learn our multiplication tables while tossing beanbags in the air while walking on a balance beam.
Yeah.
So we're not focusing on it. We're like moving and we're getting our bodies integrated. And I feel like a good ADHD tutor should also integrate those things in their work, which makes it more fun for the kids.
Yeah, we at one of our local libraries, the Queen Creek Library, my wife took our kids there, and there was a scientist there. I don't know if she was actually a scientist, but what they did is they had like the little, going back a ways, they had those like little film canisters, right, that you used to put like the actual camera film in, and you'd get, vinegar and baking powder, right? So she'd put a little bit of vinegar in the bottom of the canister. The baking powder would be in the top. She'd put the lid on, and then they'd count down from 5. And it's fun to see all the kids go 5, 4, 3, and then the lid pops off, and everybody's just like, they lose their minds because it's like the best thing ever. Like that's another advertising tactic. Like, could you develop a good relationship with any local libraries and host events like that where you're teaching something simple, getting parents there and kids excited, and then also saying, hey, I do group tutoring, or I do private tutoring. If your kid really enjoyed this, I could do more of it, right?
Yeah. Well, the other thing here is, Facebook groups.
Yeah, Facebook groups.
I'm not pro Facebook these days, but the Facebook groups where there are moms who like are at their wits' end with their kids. You could absolutely get into the right Facebook group, and then you're just referred around.
I think for when you're selling to consumers, I think Facebook groups are a lot more effective.
Mm-hmm.
B2B, I think it's probably huge waste at this point. But if you're but people still socialize, even if they're not like coming on thinking business, they're still like hanging out with their friends. They're still getting info about local resources. I feel like it's still pretty common to see Facebook posts though, like, I need X, Y, and Z. Can you recommend a plumber? Can you recommend whatever?
We have a librarian on who's she's
perfect. Is
our libraries idea.
Yeah. I think from a sales perspective, you're going to be targeting parents that already or kids that already have a negative association, right? Mm-hmm. Like because you're it might not be the first tutor. So maybe the marketing angle is going to be focusing on parents and kids that are already unhappy with their tutoring. Like they might have had a tutor, or they might have tried to have a tutor, and they might be on their 3rd tutor, and it's just not working.
Right.
And that's like the pain point that you can paint for that audience.
Right. Well, I also think that most tutors work after school.
Yeah.
And I think ADHD kids, I know I was like tapped out. I didn't want to sit down anymore.
Early mornings.
Yeah, early mornings or on the weekends.
Yeah. Early mornings.
And I think in person is better for kids with ADHD because you get to get active and you could do something physical also. So
Zoom school, I can tell you, Zoom school ADHD kids, no.
No.
Yeah, it doesn't work. It does not work.
Every single online class I've ever taken.
I tried this in my house. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
But no, like having a set place on Saturdays where literally your appointments just come to you.
Yeah.
Right. And then maybe a couple early mornings throughout the week.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, one other, this is kind of thinking about other revenue streams, if you will, the other partnerships, is there are tons of, let's say like kids influencers that have like toys that help, or different activity boxes that you can buy. And if you developed a really good relationship with them, you could probably get discounts off of their stuff and kind of, be a affiliate of those products. So it's like, hey, we use these toys in my classroom, right? If you want this toy at home, here's how you do it, right? And then those people also start referring people to you because they're like, oh my gosh, like this person is awesome. They're using my stuff. Like this is amazing. And so that increases some revenue that way. But
yeah.
Branded fidget toys. You got to get branded fidget toys. That's got to be the thing.
Oh yeah.
I think the logo should just be like half a dozen fidget toys in a mess on the carpet. I think that would be the, and maybe with like a calculator in there to like show that you're a tutor. But that's the image that you need lots of fidget toys.
Oh, Amanda has a great idea. I'm wondering about a tie-in with local children's museums or through a YMCA. Absolutely. I mean, could you imagine like, those old like YMCA gymnastics rooms and just having like a mass math class where you have like groups of kids like calculating if they divide themselves by 3 or whatever, and trying to figure it out together. It would be absolute chaos, but it would get them all thinking.
Yeah. And the energy would be very, very good.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
So here's another idea is like this person is going to have limited time because the kids have limited time to do this. They could absolutely put together some kind of certification process for other tutors in different regions to get ADHD certified and license out any ADHD specific like worksheets, training books, all that stuff so that they could use that for their clients.
How about an agency?
Could absolutely be an agency.
You can if you have a really good branding, you trademark your branding and then you license out the right fit, like a certain style of ADHD tutoring.
Yep.
This is your thing. You have a system. It has a particular style that goes with it. It has, because for kids, maybe there's like a video or a jingle that you open your ads with that's like really catchy so that it gets in their head and then they never stop humming it like ever.
It's like the Baby Shark of tutoring.
Yes. There you go.
Yes. My wife and I was joking in the car with the movie Dumb and Dumber. Hey, you want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Problem is you can't play that game with your kids because they'll take you up on it.
Oh, they will. They'll be like, "Oh, this is the greatest thing ever." Challenge accepted.
Yeah.
So funny. So, all right. So if we were to recap, at least on the kids side, find your niche, right? Or niche, however we want to say it. Look for areas that already have kind of built-in communities, right? So then your customers kind of become your advocates and it's easier to fill your classrooms and create partnerships with people who are also talking to your customers, libraries, YMCAs. I mean, even if you had like a local farm that did events, like that would be awesome to like go out there and do stuff there. So is there anything you could do with that? So developing those relationships and partnerships with those businesses to kind of get things off the ground. Long term, as you see the success, start documenting everything that you're doing so you can either turn it into a full-fledged agency or just license all of your content out.
Yeah. I think also figuring out the math of how much you should be paid is going to be really critical here as well. Because,
Right, it's your territory. How much do we charge?
Well, so you're specialized with kids who have ADHD. They're probably terrors for anyone else who's just a tutor. You have more overhead because and really more assets that you bring to the table because you're doing ADHD friendly style tutoring. I think it would be perfectly fair for this person to charge like $100 to $150 an hour or a session. And I think you have to have a kid go at least once a week to work with the tutor, depending on what they're working on. And so I think it would be fair to be, between $200 and $300 a week And I would have it packaged out in 3-month spurts because hopefully the kid, gets up to speed. Maybe they were just behind for a little bit and they just need to get up to speed. And this is just a tough time for them.
Right.
So if it's $200 a week, it'd be $800 a month times 3.
Right.
Yeah.
And rewards. You got to have rewards. You have to. It has to be like, if you cooperate and pay attention for however long the session is, or realistically like 90% of the session, then you get something. You get a toy. You get even a sticker or chart. Like, you have to build in that structure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's focus time, right? They get rewarded for the focus time, the time that they continued trying.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So if you have 10 clients and you're charging $800 a month, that's an $8,000 a month business.
Yeah. And that's only for you. That doesn't even count the agency stuff.
Exactly. So if you have other people, then you just pay them 50% of that, around that. And then, of course, any affiliate programs that you put together, that would just be money on top of the pot.
Right.
Yeah, 8K a month isn't bad. That's pretty awesome for 10 clients.
Yeah, it would be an amazing part-time business. You'd have to live in a fairly affluent area. And here's the keys. Like, if you wanted to make your work more approachable for people who couldn't quite afford that, you could put together some kind of group program for like the grades that you focus on. Where you have a small group where they're all paying much less, but it's a group thing and they're just getting more learning, but they're getting it in an ADHD friendly way.
Yeah. Yeah. There are quite a few spin-offs that you could make on this. Eventually you could also develop your own products off of this, right? Hey, absolutely. I use these toys all the time. And if I combine them, it would be like a game changer, right? And absolutely. So then you develop that and now you have something. So yeah, there's a lot of different revenue streams here. Just exciting.
What if you did a partnership with like Lego?
That's awesome.
Or what are the toys that your kids always play with, Tyler, that you're always playing with?
Magnetiles.
The Magnetiles.
Oh yeah.
Or there's a whole industry of sensory.
Yeah.
Sensory
toys, like weighted blankets and things that are specifically appealing to neurodivergent kids. So it's natural partnerships that you can, because it's part of your branding. Even though you're a tutor, your marketing is all about your audience.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be dealing with these things.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea.
I actually thought I was getting a fidget, a stress ball with my logo on it. So pitched me, and I was like, start to play with my office.
Mm-hmm. That's actually a great idea for your business. If you're not familiar with David's business, he basically helps people sue other people, or if they're getting sued by someone else.
So it's hugely stressful, right? So a stress ball is like, stress ball, take out your stress. A lot of good angles there.
I think that's brilliant. Brilliant. I love it. Well,
so
cool.
I'm curious, from the legal side, David, what kind of liabilities do we have to protect the tutor from?
So look, anytime you're working with kids, you probably would want some form of insurance policy.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to your branding, if you're going to go the licensing route, trademark, you'd want to develop some proprietary taglines, imagery, pictures, worksheets, even ebooks that you can, develop as you go, and you see what works, and you can sell lesson plans to other tutors once you've worked out certain systems. If you make it part of your branding, then you can charge a premium. You can also, it makes it much easier to license it out. If you're going to do the agency model, first you'd still want the intellectual property protection. You'd also want to make sure that you have non-competes and non-solicitation agreements in place, so that you hire a tutor to work for you and they don't just take your clients and set up shop.
Right.
You'd want to make sure that you have some a vetting process for the people you're hiring. You have to come up with some oversight so that if it's a tough thing, I think, for any agency type business, but especially when you're dealing with kids, and like any red flag or any hiccup could be like a huge mark against you. Yeah, those are some thoughts that jump out at me.
Yeah. And then I'm curious, Tyler, from the marketing angle, I know we kind of decided on like community outreach and Facebook, but do you see any other opportunities with like ads or email marketing?
Yeah, I mean, email marketing is going to be a big driver, and also like text messaging, in my opinion, for this business, because it's creating those relationships. But then also it's, my wife and I we're expecting baby number 3 in just a couple of weeks here, right? So if we got in with a really good tutor with Harvey, who's our oldest,
right,
and then when Quentin, our second, right, is ready, is kind of at that age, and that tutor sent that email right at the right time, then it's like, oh yeah, remember when we worked with this person? Oh, here's this, work with this kid. And then number 3, right? So email marketing is going to be big because, you could work with multiple kids in the same family. And to be honest, I really wouldn't pursue ads you could maybe do Google ads, but you're going to be much, much better off really focusing on doing events and like group outreach, right?
Yep.
You're going to have so much better results, and that way you don't waste any money on ads.
Yeah. Because who wants to waste money on ads?
Yeah. Who just likes to throw that stuff away? It's not important.
Yeah. I mean, if you're independently wealthy and you're just doing this for fun and you want to try ads,
sure.
Cool. But yeah, cool. Okay, so that's the kids tutoring. We just started a business. Congratulations, guys. I think we did a great job.
All right.
Yeah.
I want to watch this thing. When are we doing it?
I know. Well, I don't think anyone wants me tutoring their child.
Well, hey, wait, Katie, we missed you. I would be very curious because we've got a legal side, we've got the marketing side.
Yeah.
How would you approach this from the sales side? Is this just solely one-on-one in person? Are you like, how would you handle the sales side of things?
Yeah. So, I mean, well, you have to market to the parent, obviously, right? But here's the thing, your sales process, because the parents at this point will want to make the right choice for the kid, right? So your sales process is actually going to be in person, where you're doing like a little bit of an activity with the kid to make sure it's the right fit energetically and personality wise. And, the kid has to like you to be able to learn from you, Yeah. And so you're just showing up, being yourself. And if they like you, great. And if they don't, that's fine too. There's plenty more kids out there. But basically you're saying, cool, we're going to slow this down because I want to make sure I'm the right fit for you. And so you're going to have that little meet and greet. If it goes well and like you and the kid get along, then you're going to say, great, let's do a follow-up. And we're going to talk about all the details of the program. And you can share some of the details beforehand, because I think some parents will want to know some of the details before they take time out of their day to meet you.
Sure.
But then go into, here's how I work. I work with my clients my tutees for about 3 months at a time, because sometimes they just need to get over a hump of something that's difficult for them. Sometimes they need longer term support, and I'm happy to do that. But let's start with 3 months. And then you lay out, I think, the best support for your kid is going to be something that's midweek and then a weekend day. When they're refreshed, they've had a good night's sleep, they haven't expended all their energy at school. And it really keeps that learning going throughout the weekend. And, and then you explain the pricing and everything. I think having it on either they pay in full or you have it on auto pay is just always the best choice. That way you're not chasing people down for money, right? You're not like having to like slip a note in a kid's binder, hoping their parents see it, that they owe you $800.
Pin the note to their shirt.
Just
draw it like on their forehead. Like,
yeah, that note is never coming home. There's just no chance of that.
When they used to send grades home with you, I don't know how I did this, but I got my dad's I got my dad to write a signature somewhere, and I spent hours learning how to forge my dad's signature so that when I got my report cards, I could sign them as my dad and then turn them back in. So my parents never saw my grades because,
Yeah.
Anyways, we'll move on.
So yeah, we want to just completely bypass that. That is not a cool scenario. And I think that's for your one-on-one. And of course, your one-on-one business is always going to be your fastest path to cash. I think once you start building your reputation and your one-on-one business is full, or you started getting people who are really interested in working with you, but they can't afford that price level, then you start building up a group program. And I would really pick like 2 afternoons, during the week. And I would have 2 different sessions depending on what grades and what subjects you're working on. And I'd say, hey, awesome. So I actually have a 4-month program where you can enroll your kids. It's like an after school daycare kind of situation. But we have fun while learning. And I'm helping them just get into the groove and build that confidence that they can stick with stuff, that they can figure out problems. And it shows them a lot of different strategies to do it while, with their ADHD brain that's creative and needs to move. I think that's the best way to do that. And then as those kids, kind of graduate through, they may need more one-on-one support, but once you've built that credibility with them, that they're building their confidence and their kids are seeing them looking forward to going to that, you're going to be able to sell them better on the more expensive program.
Right.
Yep, totally.
Yeah.
Cool.
The marketing side, did we mention pediatricians? Because
we didn't.
Oh yeah, pediatricians. That'd be good too.
Like pediatricians, psychiatrists, because we're thinking about this as, well, it's part of education, but like when a kid is diagnosed with ADD or prescribed medication, they're already having a conversation with a professional. That's their doctor. That's before they talk to their teachers. That's before they start looking for anyone. There's already a professional relationship. I feel like the pediatrician is, oh yeah, you're having trouble in school. Well, of course you are. And I just heard of this, or we work with this, or yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I also think like a nicely timed, like sponsored happy hour for teachers.
Yeah.
Because they're really the ones that are writing notes home, on the report card saying, I think your kid might need to get on some Ritalin.
Yeah.
But if they know this person, they trust them and like have had an good experience with them, I think that's really cool.
Right. Yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Are we ready to switch to the other kind of tutors where we're selling and tutoring the exact same person?
Let's go.
Cool. Well, I mean, David, you know more about this because you've had professional tutoring for, your continued education.
Yeah, so now that I'm thinking about it, I'm wondering if we keep the same business, just expand it, right? Because in the tutoring space, when you work with kids, there's this sense that, well, you have to be really specific to their learning needs and learning differences and differentiated learning and really make sure. And then you get to a certain age and we're like, the hell with it. We're just going to put a professor in front of a room and they're going to talk to you. We're just going to assume you can all figure out how to learn.
Right.
But there's no reason why that would be remotely true. And so I feel like there's still the same need, if there's a need, for kids to have a tutor with expertise in ADD or autism or dyslexia or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. Why would that need be any less when they're taking SATs or GREs or GMATs or LSATs or the bar or whatever other licensing exam? If anything, the stakes are higher, the material is harder, and there's more on the line, right? Because when you're selling a prep course for a licensing exam, there's money on the table. Like, I need to make a living. I need to pass this test, and that test is now I can tell you it's worth X dollars, right? Because I'm going to make this much money if I pass, and if I don't pass, I'm not making it.
Well,
people shell out like thousands of dollars.
I love this because this is such a great selling point for the parents of like the 8-year-old who are at their wits' end because their 8-year-old having a hard time with math. And it's like, you know what? Your 8-year-old is going to be an ADHD doctor, because we actually support our ADHD kids from figuring out their division, stuff, long division, all the way through their like passing the bar or getting their license as a doctor. This methodology that we use here, this fun, this energy, this creativity, we actually carry all the way through.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
and it shows. Yeah.
Plus you have you built in, right? So, I mean, talk about having, what's the expression? Like the client journey. Right?
Oh yeah.
Client journey, like we're talking about a lifetime now.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about a client journey that like starts when he's 6, and ends when he's 27. That's huge.
Right. Well, I think that it means that there has to be like a defined methodology. Right. Methodology sounds so stodgy and stale, but you know what I mean? Like there has to be a defined way that they tutor in this ADHD neurodiverse way.
Right.
Yep.
And then they are able to license and almost certify through them these tutors that specialize in different areas.
Right.
Because someone who teaches like reading to a 7-year-old is not going to help someone with the bar. I don't think.
Right. Well, there is like our special ed teachers. I feel like when you're hiring, so I'm thinking about the agency model. So I'd want some special ed teachers on my staff. I'd want teachers because, ADD sometimes comes along with dyslexia, sometimes comes along with other learning disabilities.
Yep.
And so if I'm operating an agency and I have a child and I'm looking at their IEP or a neurological workup, and it's like ADD and dyslexia and some other things. Oh, well, perfect. So here's this person who is trained in my ADHD method and also a reading specialist and specialized in dyslexia. I got my person for you. You build out that agency, you can offer a much more powerful service.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Well, I also think, the older they get, obviously, the more they're paying for this because the more specialized it is.
Right.
Right. Because you're then paying someone who's gone through the bar, ideally.
Yeah.
To then tutor you on how to get through the bar.
Right.
And it's also an easier sell because like you're basically selling, you have to train everyone who is a tutor within the business to know how to sell their own program within it because, that relationship is the thing the person's going to trust.
Right.
It's going to be really hard for me to like sign up with John and then get Kathy.
Right. Oh, another idea. Because we're focusing on in person as much as possible, because when you're dealing with learning disabilities and neurodiversity, that's much more effective. You can franchise. You can have. So I'm in New York. I'm going to set this business in New York, and then I'm going to find somebody who wants to open up the Texas version, the California version, Wisconsin version, and as a franchise, they're running a separate business, nothing to do with me, and I can franchise, I can make it international, I can have a Europe version, I can have, divide Africa into a few segments, and then when it comes to differences in pricing and style, that's not my problem anymore.
Right.
It's their problem. Right, I have my method, I have my branding and my name and my reputation. I give that to you. I get a fee for that. I get a cut of your profits, and I don't have to learn every sub-market in order to turn that into money.
Right, and you also don't have to manage all those people.
Right.
Right, and you're not taking on all that that liability also. Yeah. Tyler, what do you think?
No, I think it's brilliant. I think that, kind of keeping that same energy, honestly, even if you did specialize in ADHD, like prep for the bar exam, I would imagine that just because you are more fun or you seem more fun and like the study becomes less of a study, that you'd actually own a huge percent of this market just because people are like, this looks like more fun than having a I mean, I've never been tutored for the bar, so David, I would go back to you, and I like how I imagine it going is somebody, you know, kind of like in a shirt and a tie showed up and said, here's what you're studying today, let's do some flashcards. I don't know. Like...
No, Tyler, I'm actually gonna one up that. It's suit, tie. Here's what we're going to be studying today. Here are some flashcards. Yeah. Like no.
It wasn't that bad. I mean, I did like the standard one that everyone used, Barbary. Now there's some others that are more recent, and we went. So you could sign up for like the live version. I did the recorded version, but like you went to an auditorium to watch a video, like on a big screen, because it wasn't streaming, I guess, so they keep their proprietary whatever. So you couldn't just like copy it and invite a bunch of other people over to watch it with you. And they had like these notes and outlines they would give you. Yeah. By the way, it's July and the bar I think is in like 2 weeks. So if there's any recent law graduates that are watching this and having PTSD, you're studying, you're gonna be fine. Just keep your schedule.
David's gonna send you a stress ball.
Remember to eat, and I'll see you on the other side. Just I just realized at the end of July. Yeah. So I think it's next week, actually. Yeah. So I lost what I was going to say. I had a thought there.
I know. I love that we all just kind of like hopped on the ADHD train. It's almost like it would serve us a bit. You know?
It's total coincidence. I don't think it's any.
Doesn't mean anything. Nothing at all.
Nothing at all. Nothing to see here. No, but I think that would be amazing because it would be very interesting, right? Very entertaining for, let's say, neurotypicals who are studying for the bar, who are kind of like, I'm a little burned out from just sitting down and just like trying to focus and studying. This is a new way of learning, and who knows, maybe they'll even get better results because of it. So you would focus on ADHD people, but I would guess that the majority of your class wouldn't be ADHD people, just because they're finding it.
So what you could do is
fun and interesting.
Instead of using ADHD, I mean, obviously ADHD would be in your marketing, but instead of it being the focus, maybe your focus would be distraction, difficulty paying attention, things that are traits, qualities that obviously people with ADHD are going to be struggling with, but not necessarily, right? It doesn't exclude other people. There's plenty of people that have trouble focusing or paying attention for a dozen different reasons. And if your approach is helpful for people that struggle with this particular task, its relevance is, and also it also take the stigma away. I think the stigma it's much less than it was like, a couple of decades ago. But still, there might be people that just, are in denial or aren't diagnosed or don't know what it's called. But like when you describe distractibility and focus and fidgeting and needing to get your, like, the exact amount of exercise and sleep that you normally get, right? You start describing that and then be like, oh yeah, I didn't know there's like a special acronym that goes with that, but that's my life. If you have an approach that works with that, it's going to work.
Right. Well, the other element here is I imagine there are lawyers who get kind of targeted by law firms before they've passed the bar. So you could, right? Like
almost kind of like recruiting.
Yeah, recruited.
No, it's a huge industry.
Yeah. So, but like you could actually sell packages of this to different big law firms.
Yeah.
To like ensure that their people are getting through the bar.
That's good.
I think every even the not so big law firms pay for the prep courses.
That's awesome.
pretty standard.
Well, and then the other thing is that, like, as you're building the business and as you have people going through it, they're seeing, wow, this is really helpful. They get to their career and they're like, actually, I don't want to be a lawyer, but that looked like fun. I imagine you have some people who go through it and then they're like, I want to open my own franchise.
Yeah. That's cool.
As well, they passed the bar.
Squirrel Tutoring, that's the name.
Squirrel Tutoring.
Oh my God, yes.
That's awesome.
Oh my
and the
God.
logo can be like a squirrel with like reading glasses and like, trying to focus on a book and just like can't see it. This is awesome. All right. That's gonna be the logo. A little gif of like a squirrel that like can't like
that jumps from their computer to reading a book to writing to scrolling through their phone to back to the computer.
Hey, Acorn.
Snack, Oh my God, so funny.
I love it. I love it.
Final thoughts on our tutoring business.
If anyone wants to do this, reach out to us. If you're watching this, I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna launch this business. I would love to like be along for the ride.
Yes, same.
Yeah, I think this content would blow up on TikTok and Reels. Because every ADHD person, including myself that I know, is severely addicted to either or both. So like just by way of attention, you'll get there. Mm-hmm. But then it's just like bite-sized content where you can be, continually educating and showing things and being fun. You'll just get a lot of attention that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think the biggest overhead is finding a space to do this. Right? Finding the right real estate that's easy for people to get to.
Right.
But I mean, if you can figure that out, if you can lock something in, I mean, there's a lot of, I know Philadelphia, because I just moved there. There's a lot of storefronts that like can't be restaurants. And so they're like frame shops and fabric stores, but you could absolutely get something for low rent.
Yeah. Right. I mean, the real estate is going crazy in some sectors, but office space.
Right.
There's a ton of offices that are just empty, or they're at like 30% capacity that you can convert into a educational studio.
Right.
So, I mean, also depending on, again, your teaching methodology, could you go to something like, because I mean, you're working with adults at this point, right? Could you, sublet for a little bit, like a gymnastics area? Ooh. And so now they're learning in a gymnastics place, or at like a trampoline park, or something like that. Could you say, I want to bring in a class, this is what we're going to be studying, but I'm going to be using your equipment to kind of teach these different things?
That would actually be a really fun thing to do, is like a monthly get together, is like go to a climbing studio, go to a trampoline park, go to those things, and you pair people up as learning buddies. And like they're jumping, like they're asking questions. I mean, you have to get like, David's probably like squirming at the liability here, but
I'm not squirmy. I make a living in litigation, so I'm like, bring it, yeah.
Bring it. Let me know.
Twist your ankle, yeah.
David's gonna be out there tripping people, man.
Just pouring oil on the trampoline.
Dude, so you've been injured by Squirrel Tutoring. You might be entitled to compensation.
So good. So good.
Well, I think on that note, we should wrap this evening up, guys.
Yeah. This was awesome. I am so pumped for the next one.
Oh my God, me too. We have a whole jar. I actually made my mom help me cut them up and put them in this jar. I'm going to find a bigger jar, though, so I can fit my hand in it. I want to invite the audience, if there are any business types, it may already be in the jar, but if it's not already in the jar, please put it in the comments. DM it to us and we will add it to our jar of ideas. This is, going to be a co-created experience with you all. And David and Tyler, I'm so excited we finally got around to doing this. I know we've been talking about this for a while.
This is awesome.
We have, haven't we? Yeah.
Yeah.
This is fun.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys. And I hope you have a great Thursday night. Today's Thursday, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's been a long day.
It's been a long week. Yeah. Have a great rest of your week. Tyler, if the baby comes soon, good luck.
Yes. Good luck.
Well, August 12th, so hopefully not too soon.
Yeah,
But, Brittany is actually hoping that it's either going to be the 15th or the 18th because Quentin was born on the 16th and Harvey was born on the 17th. Obviously separate months.
Oh yeah.
So she's kind of hoping to keep this
right.
trend going. So
Fingers crossed.
yeah, the first time I've ever heard my wife, I hope the baby comes late.
Yeah, I don't think anyone has ever said that.
No.
That might be the.
So yeah, good times in the Cook household. But
Oh yeah. So I think our plan is to do this every other week-ish.
All right, I'm game.
Does
Here
that
we
work?
go.
let's do it.
We're
Very
kind of
good.
learning this on this live. Yeah. So, okay, cool. Now that I've gotten you roped into that and we have, witnesses, I think we should call it a night.
All right.
All right, sounds
All right.
good. See ya.
Thank you everyone for joining, and we will see you in a couple weeks. We'll be promoting it and I'm just going to play the video that I just made for this again to
Play it again.
play us out.
It's perfect.
Thanks.